Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Turtle Wins the Race Home-Based Business podcast. These videos are a little longer. Okay, so if you're impatient, this isn't probably the place for you. And my name is Kara Buntin. I just wanted to add that because I've been a home-based business owner for 24 years and a lot has changed in that time, but I'm patient. So if you're the kind of person who watched my last podcast and then left a comment about telling me to get to the point and tell you what the secret is, and other things that I just deleted because it was really unnecessary, this is probably not the channel for you. So we'll give you a minute to leave. And if you want to stay, you might actually learn something because you're probably the ones that need to hear this. And what we're going to be talking about today is how to build a home-based business in a time when online is just being overrun with the get-rich-quick crowd, I won't say the POD crowd, but there is a lot of that in there. And whenever I talk about this kind of thing, I get lots of very defensive comments from people who are defending like the AI image generators and POD in general. Look, I have POD in some of my shops. I have POD, it's in one of my Etsy shops at this point, but I also have POD on other sites. I have nothing against print on demand, which is POD in case you're not familiar with that. But what I do have a problem with is people who are lazy and who just want a quick solution and don't want to do the work. And look, if that's your thing, have at it. Go ahead. You're going to burn out pretty quickly though, because there are a lot of people who are flooding online e-commerce sites with that kind of junk. And it's basically junk. You're copying each other. You're being told by people on YouTube, all you have to do to build a business is go over and copy what's selling on Etsy, use Canva fonts. And half the time they're all copyright infringing anyway, but that's a different story. So basically what ends up is that every e-commerce site is just flooded with the same kind of junk. And this actually made me laugh a lot. Someone in my public Facebook group made a comment about the Wine Mom t-shirts. I died because I had just had a conversation with someone about the Wine Mom t-shirts. Look, okay, we get it. Having kids is hard, but it's a good thing. You know, this is a complete aside. I don't know why it's so trendy to say, oh, I hate my kids. I have to drink a lot of wine. Stop. Then, you know, that's sad. But I wanted my kids around me. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm nuts. I also don't drink wine. I do have a good cup of tea occasionally, and I'll have a sip right now. Let's actually get into the topic of today, which is kind of a follow-up to last week. And this has nothing to do with print on demand. It has nothing to do with AI imagery, okay? It does have something to do with how to survive as a small handmade business where you are actually making things with your hands. You are cutting things out. You are putting things together. You're creating something. You're painting something. And painting does kind of, have a competition with the AI situation that's going on now. So that puts a different level on it. But we're leaving AI aside. We're leaving POD aside. This has nothing to do with that. So if you're going to leave a snarky comment about that, that's not what I'm talking about. So don't worry about it. If you want to survive as a business in a time when it is so easy for anybody to set up shop online, regardless of where it is, and just drop ship stuff, they resell other people's stuff, whether they're saying it's handmade or not. It doesn't even matter whether they're saying it's handmade or not. The point is that it's too easy for people to do this, and there's too many, passive income people doing it now, that it's just become so competitive that you're not competing against the people you think you're competing against. And that's one of the things that I talked about last week. And let me use jewelry as an example. Okay, if you're making jewelry, then you're actually putting things together with your hands. You might be soldering metal. You might be molding things yourself. However you make your jewelry, you're competing all of a sudden with lots of cheap junk that's being resold from China and these wholesale companies where they're using, let's just say forced labor. And they can sell things at really cheap prices because it doesn't cost them anything to make. And it's kind of a disruption of the market in a deliberate way. But you have to figure out a way if you want to continue doing this, and you have to decide for yourself, is it worth it for you? I think it is. I think that people can definitely make a living with genuine handmade products, but you have to be smart about it. And you have to be willing to look around and say, is it too competitive? Is what I'm doing too competitive because it's easily done by other people? And you get into the kind of situations where you might be using genuine gemstones and someone else is using plastic, but they look alike. Until you touch things, they look alike. And that's the problem with selling online, is that people can't touch things. People don't have that sensory experience of touching things and knowing that it's real. And you can tell the difference. If we're sticking with jewelry, let's just stick with that. You can tell the difference. When I pick up a plastic bracelet, let's say that I'm at a store. Okay, I'm just at a gift store somewhere. And there's 2 racks of bracelets that are just yoga bracelets with little round gemstones. That's all. The little, and I won't even say gemstones, little round stones. I'm looking at them, they look alike. Okay, they might look alike. I pick one up and it's heavy, it has weight to it, it has substance to it. I pick the other one up and it's light as a feather because it's made of plastic. And when you look at it closely, you can see the difference. Okay, but the problem is that online you can't look at things closely. You can't see the difference. And this is one reason why you should be using videos in your listings, regardless of whether it's on your website or Go Imagine or other platforms. You know what? I'm not even going to say Etsy. Well, I just said it. Okay. Etsy encourages people to use videos because of that. They want people to see things, and it mimics the experience of going into a store and picking something up if you can see it in more than one dimension, and it's not just a flat photo. But the tactile part of it isn't there. And that's what people seem to be moving toward, that they're missing because of all this. This is a weird cycle that we're in. And the title of this video, I told my eShop group, because we had this conversation about selling on markets, I said the title is going to be Market Like It's 1999, because I think that we're going back to a time, honestly, we're going back to a time where people want to have a different shopping experience. And there's just so much online that's deceptive or it's fake, and you buy something and it comes to you and it's nothing like what the picture looks like. It's nothing what the description looks like, because there's so much cheap junk out there that people are kind of starting to crave that in-person experience where they can actually touch things. We've seen that when people, like, at the end of the pandemic, when people were able to go to the shops, e-commerce sales dropped because everybody's like, I'm going to the mall. I want to go to the mall. And I told this story before. I think I was at the post office right as things were starting to open up. And there was a guy in front of me and he was talking to the clerk and he was saying something about going shopping. And I said, oh yeah, are you excited to get back in person? He's like, I'm going to the mall. I'm psyched. And I mean, how often do people get super excited to go to the mall? So when people start wanting to shop in person, it's partly because, number one, they couldn't at that point, but it's also because it just gives you a different shopping experience. And if you're a handmade artist, you know that there's a value in people actually touching and seeing the quality of your products as opposed to just seeing a picture online. Now, I will say that a lot of handmade artists like to sell online because you don't have to deal with people. Yeah, that's true. But I think that what we're looking at now, as we kind of shift into this just a mess, online has become a flea market, and it's like the lowest price. Everything has to be on sale. You have to do free shipping. I don't do free shipping, by the way, and people still buy from me. But that's a little off the topic. But when people are faced with that, you want to give them an experience. And to do that, you kind of need to present yourself in different ways. And this, I think, is what we are going to have to do as handmade artists going forward. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to put yourself out there a little more, and you're going to have to make you the brand. All right. And I did a podcast a couple weeks ago about whether you should use we or I. There are reasons for using both if you have a small home-based business, but I think the I is going to be more important going forward. So just if you're right now saying, oh my God, I don't want to sell in person, that's not necessarily what I'm saying you have to do. I think it could be a good part of it, but I think that you need to make yourself more visible. And a lot of people don't want to do that. That's fine, but I think you're going to have to try a little bit. and this is just another step. It's another thing to learn. It's another thing to be comfortable on video. I still don't like doing video. I don't mind it, but I don't think about it now. And I didn't like it to begin with, but you get used to it. But I think you're going to need to make yourself the brand and put yourself out there, not just your products. So when you set up a shop online, you put your products out there. And that's one thing. But I think we need to take that extra step of putting ourselves out there and making it obvious that we're the ones who are making this stuff. And if you do have an opportunity to sell in person, maybe at a craft show or at markets, I would do that and just try it out. I mentioned the eShop program. It's a program for, it's specifically for marketing a handmade business. I'm closing it at the end of the year. So if you're watching this in 2024, it's not going to be open unless you're referred by an existing member. But it's basically, how do you market to customers once you have them, or how do you market your business just in general? And it has a very big Etsy component because most of us sell on Etsy at some point. Some people have left Etsy, that's fine. But the topic that we were talking about on our Friday workshop this past week, for the last 2 weeks, has been selling at markets. I don't sell at markets. I used to do wedding shows, but there are people in the group who are very well versed in this. They sell at markets all the time. They sell at conventions. They sell at like the Oddity Show. One of our members sells at the Oddity shows, around the country. And it was such a good conversation because it just kind of opens up another way to get in touch with people and to meet customers and to build your email list and to actually make that personal connection that I think customers are going to be looking for, if not already, very soon, like in more than usual. And I go to the Christmas craft shows occasionally. I don't go every year, but they're always packed. People want to buy in person. People want to see specific things in person. And yeah, they're a lot of work. Yes, they do cost money. And you have to be careful about which ones you join. And that was basically the conversation that we had over 2 weeks. And it was really good. But you do need to kind of start thinking about putting yourself out there, whether it's in-person sales or online, putting yourself out there like on video. All right. If you can do local sales in conjunction with online sales, that's going to be a big piece of the puzzle that might actually help you make more money. And it's interesting because I've started to see a lot of comments, and I've been thinking about this for a while, that we really seem to be going back in time. Like I said, 1999, we seem to be going back in time to when there wasn't an internet. And the types of marketing that we have to do as handmade artists really do seem to be going back to those times when you needed to connect with people. You needed to do networking in your area. You needed to actually meet your customers. It seems to be moving in that direction. And in one way, that's all local kind of stuff. But in another way, you can meet your customers by doing video. It's not just the in-person stuff. You can take this leap and get on YouTube. Just diversify where you personally show up. That's the main idea. And I know that there are people in my program who have started YouTube channels. They are selling on Patreon. They have Patreon channels where they have memberships. A few of them do that. I did that for a while. It was too much work to keep up. So I have other stuff going on. But you can build a Facebook group. And we just had a conversation about Facebook groups in the last meeting that we had yesterday. So there are a lot of ways that you can put yourself out there as a brand. And I think that that's going to be much more important. And the other thing is that you can't do that if you're just copying other people's work and putting it on a t-shirt. Because what are you going to do? I'll take that back. There are plenty of people on YouTube who do put themselves out in that way, but they're selling something to other people to try to get them to do the same thing, right? So it's here's my video, but I'm going to sell you my program and just buy this and I'll teach you how to copy other people's stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about handmade business where you are selling the product that you're making. And there is a place for selling classes. That's another thing that we talk, there's all kinds of ways where you can build a business around the product that you make. But I think the advantage that we have as someone who actually makes a physical product is that you can go to a craft show. You can go to a local fair and sell at that thing with your physical products, where someone who is just slapping Canva fonts on a t-shirt isn't going to be able to do that. So we need to move in a way that kind of rehumanizes us. And I think that's basically what it boils down to. You want to rehumanize your business. You want to think of ways to put yourself out there so that people start to know you as the business. And you want to build your brand as opposed to just slapping something up online and hoping that people find you. And that's never really a good way to, build anything. But I don't know if you guys want me to talk about doing YouTube, like my experience with YouTube. Post it in the comments. I'm fine with that. YouTube is very weird. And I think that one of the reasons that I got a lot of comments that were like, get to the point, it was strange, because usually I don't get those kinds of comments because the people who watch this channel are not get rich quick people, right? But the way that YouTube showed the last video, I had the word Etsy. What was the title of the video? It's like Etsy has changed, right? So that video was started to be suggested. YouTube started suggesting it to people outside my normal viewing area, like the people that normally view my videos. YouTube started suggesting that video. And YouTube thinks that Etsy is get rich quick, because basically that's what's on YouTube for Etsy tips. When people search for Etsy tips, they're not finding tips about how to build a sustainable business that will last for a long time. They're finding get rich quick tips and quick sales and the skyrocket your sales kind of videos. I'm not into that. But that's what YouTube thinks Etsy is. So YouTube was showing my video to these people, and they were coming and watching and not happy because I was not giving them the secret. I wasn't giving them a formula. I wasn't giving them a step-by-step, this is how to do it. Go copy everybody, right? I wasn't giving them that, and they were mad. So they left rude comments. But, there are ways that you can use YouTube. So you have to kind of, YouTube is strange, but you have to kind of know how to present a product-based business on YouTube. And it's different. It's not the same way that you present something like this where I'm just talking about a topic. It's not the same. I have four or five YouTube channels. I don't even know. Some of them I don't post on very often, but one is for my cake business, and I don't do the same things on there that I do on here. I just post a lot of product videos. It's not anything that I've paid attention to recently. If I wanted to go in and make that more of a product-based channel, which I probably should, taking my own advice, then I would do different things on YouTube. So if you want me to talk about YouTube or Facebook groups or whatever, leave me comments, because I'm always looking for things to talk about in these podcasts. But I think what this boils down to, and I kind of got off topic with the YouTube thing. Sorry if you wanted a quick, anyway, I think the people that watch this podcast or listen to it they're listening while they're actually making things. They're doing other work, and that's okay. So I can ramble a little bit. But I think the point that I want to boil all this down to is that going forward, if you are a handmade product business, what you're going to need to do is figure out how to show people that you are actually the business. And if you went away, your products would also go away, because they come from your neurology. They don't come from a computer. They don't come from a wholesaler. They come from your hands. And that's going to be the important selling point. And you want to replicate the experience of touching something in the store. So just think about it that way, and think about how you can make yourself be obviously the face of your brand. But not just that, but you want people to come back because they want to buy from you, and they want to buy your products. They want to buy something that's made by you. Not everyone cares about this. And this is the problem that we're coming up against. Not everybody cares about this, but there are still people who do. And I think more people are starting to feel that way because of just the vast amount of junk that's online. And you have to wade through everything to get to the good stuff. You have to figure out how to make them know that you are going to provide good stuff, and they don't have to go looking somewhere else. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it gave you something to think about. Leave me any questions, and I will talk to you later.